Hello, hello. By the way, my indie home is kind of laggy, so I'm sorry if in the middle of my speech I freeze. Hello, can you hear me?
Yep.
Okay, so welcome to our fellow book brewers. Today we will start our first meeting in January 2020. Hooray! And although probably I am one of the newest member in this club or community, I am very happy to join you here. And I hope we will have a more interesting discussion in the upcoming 2022. Okay, so today we have several speakers that have already prepared their book that they want to discuss. We have Donald, we have Pipit, we have Fajar, we have Dias. Okay, so I would like to offer, hello, Dias? Yeah. Yeah, it's a habit of Toastmasters, it cannot be helped. Okay, so who would like to volunteer as the first presenter? Maybe,
Jeff, do you have questions?
am I lagging, by the way?
Yeah, just now. But do you have a list of questions maybe for us?
Okay, I will just use the same template, yeah. Where is it? So the first question is, let me find, oh yeah. What is the book is all about? That's the first question. I will type it later, yeah. And second, what are the key takeaway that you get from the book? Mention three. How this book can be applied in real life, or how can is it inspire you? Are there anything that in the book that you disagree with, or is there any question that you would like to ask? Okay, so anyone would like to be the first presenter, please?
The questions first, please, because so many to remember.
Oh, sorry. Okay, who is the first speak? Who is the first? Uh,
I think Donald lah.
let me just copy from WA ya, to
Yes,
make it
yes.
faster. Donald, are you ready?
Okay. Yeah.
By the way, if I become the presenter, can I change the question?
Of course. That's why I ask you if you have questions.
It's
You are the
like,
moderator.
but
You're
never
the
mind. I will not
moderator.
change for today. Maybe
What's the point of
if I become
asking?
the moderator for the next time, I will.
Fajar, what's the point of asking?
Never mind. Huh?
You asked just now, can I do it? And then yes, and then oh no need. Nah, gak jadi.
I will
Let's just
adjust
wait
it
for
next
Fajar
time.
typing up the questions.
It's a little bit lagging. Oh, not this one. Okay.
It's a song.
By the way, I plan to create like a book club as well, but it is for different community, and I am wondering whether it should be Indonesian language or English language for the discussion itself.
Depends on
Are
your
there any benefit
members.
or
Depends on your members,
hmm,
their liking, preference.
mana ya? Duh, repot kali. So I have a community online. It is like an anonymous community, but we will just do
Alcoholic Anonymous. They call it AA usually. Alcoholic Anonymous.
It's so slow.
You found it, Fajar? You did help?
AA are people that
Let me
can't
just
read
type
in a
lah ya.
straight line.
Oh, what are the
Cannot
key
walk in the straight
takeaway
line.
that
Oh, you're typing. Okay.
Copy paste the books that we are going to discuss, yeah?
In the
Yeah, I put in the chat maybe similar. Yeah, the questions.
okay. Me and Diaz have a similar topic about feminism, sexism. Yeah.
okay, done.
There you
So
go.
please, Donald, the time is yours.
Okay, thank you, Fajar. Hi everyone, Happy New Year. For our first meeting this year, I would like to discuss the book, the title, Talking to My Doctor About the Economy, or How Capitalism Works and How It Fails. So it's a very long title because that is the title that I just read, Talking to My Doctor About the Economy, or How Capitalism Works and How It Fails. So this book is about capitalism, and the author is a former Minister of Finance of Greece. So it's quite interesting because in 2011 there was an economic crisis in Greece, and he was involved in that. So this book is kind of timely because someone who was in the middle of the storm write this book, and but this is not about the crisis. This book is about the economy itself, and the title, Talking to My Doctor, means he pretended as if writing this book for his doctor, the language. And because of that, the language is quite simple, easy to understand. He tries to explain the concepts in economic with terms that are easy to understand. Now, what are the key takeaways from the book? Well, for me, it helps me understand how economy works because it's quite interesting. There are many things that I didn't realize before. For example, one thing that he mentioned in the book is that the basis for all economy is something called surplus. Before there was a surplus in the economy, there was no such thing as writing and debt and army and all the rest. So there were two revolutions. The first is cognitive revolution. People began to speak, and then agricultural revolution. Agricultural revolution, they began to cultivate land, and when people began to cultivate land, they had surplus. Suddenly they have more than they needed at the time, and they can store this in a warehouse. And suddenly there was a need for writing because they need to write how many of the harvest and who owe what to whom, something like that. The economy, this is something that never occurred to me. So the word surplus is new to me. That's one example. And yeah, actually, for me, it's the understanding about the economic system itself, how it relates to one another, and how modern economy works. So, for example, nowadays, all the modern economy are built on debt, and we think that it is a bad thing. And actually, that is what happened in Europe until the Reformation, because at that time, that was considered something evil. You must not lend money and then charge interest. So for many, many years, there was no debt, no credit. It's very difficult to get credit. And because of that, the economy stuck. Actually, something similar also discussed in Yuval's book *Sapiens* about capitalism. There is a chapter about capitalism, and because of that, the economic pie was pretty much the same for centuries. When governments try to meet their economic need, usually the solution is looting. So you must conquer another nation and then loot the population there. But when that became a thing, then suddenly they can borrow money. For example, the Britain, if I'm not mistaken, borrowed money against France, and because of that, they could win the war. So the resources. So that is also one other thing is the advent of corporations. So previously, if you want to borrow money, you risk everything. If you cannot pay it, then you risk losing your house or your land. But with the rise of corporations, now if you cannot pay it back, then only the property of the corporation will be taken away, but the people itself, the owner, is safe. That is another innovation. There are many things like this in the book that makes me understand, oh, so this is how it works. And yeah, maybe later if there is a relevant question, I can dig deeper into some of this. And next, how does this book can be applied in, how can this book be applied in real life? How does this inspire you? Yeah, it inspires me because it helps me understand the complexity of the economy around us. We are only in the receiving end, and because of that, maybe we do not have enough understanding to make good decisions. But with this understanding, it can help us make decisions in our life. A recent example, not in the book, is Turkey. The government of Turkey, they keep lowering their interest rates, and because of that, the value of lira fell. And yeah, this is something about the economy. With understanding of economic, we can act and make good decisions when such things happen. And next, are there anything in the book that you disagree with? Well, there is something that I disagree with. So toward the end of the book, actually I didn't really enjoy the end of the book, and I just skimmed mostly because it's no longer about how economy works, but it's about how the author thinks that we need to democratize everything. So for example, with regard to natural resources, when we make decisions about natural resources, we need to democratize the decision and not just given to corporations and some powerful elite. But I don't really enjoy that part. That is just a proposition from him, not happening yet. So I doubt that is the solution for the problem. All right, so I think that's all from me. Already 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah. So number 5. Any question maybe? Yeah, Pipit.
Sonny, Donald, because I just thought about the Greek crisis to my students last semester. I know the part he did that pulled Greece into this recession, into this economic crisis. Even they became default against the World Bank, right? So do you think he has the authority to write about a book about explaining the economy when the way he handled the situation makes him look like he doesn't understand what economy is?
Actually, I'm surprised by his insight about the economy. So he took insight from many books, like Guns, Germs, and Steel by Jerry Diamond, to explain why it is the Eurasia that conquer Africa and the rest of the world and not the other way around. So he took the idea from that. He's very insightful, in my opinion. So I don't know about the situation that you described. Maybe the political pressure, because he kind of implicitly complained about the political powers and pressure in the book, but never mentioning anything explicit about the crisis. So maybe, just my guess, some powers beyond his authority force him to do something like what's happening in the Turkey today. The president forced the interest rate to go down, despite the economists say that that's a bad decision, but the president decided that must be done, and the economy just go low and low.
Maybe
I think the
oh yes, Mike.
Go, Pepe, you go.
For those who are not familiar with the Greek crisis, I think it can be explained with one mistake, but it happened several times. They spend money more than they can afford. They did not live within their means. So the first thing that got them into 65% debt of GDP. So their debt is 65% of their GDP. That's like a huge debt, right? That what got them into that is that they insisted on doing a lot of the social security program. So the wage became really high, and then it was really good because they helped the people. But actually, as the country, they could not afford it. A lot of tax evasions, all of this, right? So they spend money more than they actually earn. That's why their debt became 65%. And then suddenly there was this idea of euro, okay? Euro currency. So the requirement to join the euro currency is your debt is only supposed to be 10% of your GDP. So now Greek is obviously not qualified, right? But however, they borrowed money from Goldman Sachs to make it look like, oh, we can afford it. Yes. But they borrow money from Goldman Sachs, which is not World Bank, not IDB. You know, this is private.
It's private money.
Yeah, private capitalist ventures, right? So they borrow money from Goldman Sachs to make it look like, okay, lower the GDP debt, okay, and then they join euro currency. But after that, there was a bubble burst, 2008, the American,
2008.
yeah, the housing bubble, right? It impacted all over the world, right? So they could not pay their debt to Goldman Sachs, so they find another debt to pay for that. So it's like piling up. So it's, I think the lesson for me, at least after reading the Greek story, is not to spend more than what we can afford, I think.
Okay, in the chat, I put a link about national debt to GDP ratio. Actually, 65% is low. You can read in the link that I just shared in the chat. The number one country in that page is
But they were
Japan.
not qualified to join euro because of that, to join the euro currency. A lot of analysts said that they should have waited for a few years until they can actually afford it, rather than borrowing money from Goldman Sachs.
Okay, but
that's where politics come in. I mean, as a politician in Greece, you've got to do things that keep your population happy. And the problem that Greece had is they also had the European Commission, the EU in Brussels, who were not really friendly. They were not helpful to Greece. And it was a mess. It was an absolute mess. I mean, they did obviously borrow more than they should have. But as Donald's figures, and I haven't looked at them, but my guess is, every other country in the world is doing the same. So this is normal. It's not abnormal. It's normal, and that makes me really worried on a global scale of the economics. Of when we're going to have a real crash. I mean, it's supposedly been happening for the last 10 years, but has never actually materialized. But any day we could have a 1929. Financial crash again, where people were having to collect their salary in washing baskets. I mean, it is, for us, it's impossible really to understand. But I know my German grandfather, he was a policeman. The police in Germany had a really good deal. They got paid in advance, 6 months in advance. Yeah. And when they got paid, the whole family, my mum and her sister and mother and her dad, all rushed out to the bank. I mean, seriously, with baskets to collect the money to go immediately and spend it, because next week it had already lost 20%. Yeah. So immediately you got what you were entitled to. You went out, you bought whatever you could. And then you did barter. You know, I mean, you obviously didn't need baked beans, 3,000 tins of it, but at least you could barter for bread or whatever later. But that was terrible time, obviously terrible time. And that was, without going into a long story, but I mean, that was really why Hitler got power. Yeah, because of the financial collapse in Germany. So it's really important. And I think, if you have that happen in the US at the moment, that could let Trump back in. Yeah, and I think the world is not stable. Yeah, it's not stable. I think because everybody is borrowing as much as they can get away with. Yeah, and they're not worried about paying it back. And that's the problem. Yeah. And national governments, they just print money. I mean, look at the American, FedEx and, the Federal Exchange and whatever. Yeah, so it's unsustainable. And it's scary. I mean, it's scary. And the people that suffer are the people like us. Yeah, the people at the top, they know it's happening 2 days before. So they pull all their money out and put it into, I don't know, clothes pegs or something, something that has a value.
Okay.
Yeah, they get it out of the bank. So anyway, it's an interesting situation. And I think more people need to read the book. Yeah. And I think Yanis is a very intelligent guy, very well educated, very knowledgeable, but his hands are tied. Yeah, I mean, he has the Greek politics to worry about. He has the EU politics to worry about, and there is no easy way out. Yeah, so I think it's good that we read about these things to really inform ourselves, because when the decisions to devalue are made, they will happen. Yeah, and it's overnight. I mean, when I was here first time, 82. I can remember coming to Jakarta one time from Bontang. Yeah, I used to come back once a month for meetings with Podemina. I got into the office in Menteng and there was nobody there. And I said, where is everybody? I've come all the way from Bontang to have a meeting and everybody's out. Where is everybody? Everybody's gone to the bank. We heard that there was going to be a devaluation.
Bank run.
So everybody was swapping their dollars for whatever's, And they made money. I mean, they made a lot of money because they had that insider information the day before.
Fajar is trying
And
to
that was
find-
sad.
Okay.
Anyway,
Thank you, Donald.
back to Fajar.
Thank you, Mike, for sharing. I actually agree with you that the issue of pumping endless amount of money without any back or gold base or anything like that. That's like issue that we have no idea how to solve exactly. Okay. Maybe one more question. Last one to Donald.
Sorry, just short comment for Pipit and Mike. So yes, in the book, he mentioned about the central banks, even banks, they are printing money out of thin air. But maybe I don't have time to talk more about that. So yes, so out of nothing, you can make money. And so one possible issue that from what it mentioned about the Greece crisis that he touched about, but only not explicitly, is maybe the money supply issue, because the Greek government was under euro, right? So they cannot print euro by themselves, and that is one cause of the crisis, I think, based on the book. Because he mentioned about Bitcoin has a problem because the money supply is fixed, and because of that, if there is a problem, then you cannot change the money supply.
You can't cheat.
So I think, so I think that is he basically maybe complained about his own situation in the crisis. That's one, and secondly, sorry, the second one I forget. Okay, thank you, Fajar.
Okay, I think maybe we can talk about that, but maybe later because it will be quite lengthy discussion. But it is interesting, very interesting. Okay, let's move on to the next presenter. The next presenter, maybe Pipit or Dias.
Yeah, you were gone. You didn't know.
So, Pipit, do you want to be the next?
Oh, yes, sure.
Okay.
Okay, so the book I'm about to present is not interesting. I'm disappointed with this book. It's called It's a Jungle Out There, The Feminist Survival Guide to Politically Inhospitable Environments, okay, by Amanda Marcotte. So Amanda Marcotte that time made a headline because the conservative radio host Rush Limbaugh, if you know him, is
Crazy. Yeah.
the crazy. Well, he claimed to have 50 million listeners on the radio, but he was a very famous conservative commentator in the radio, and he waged a national rally against this woman. That's why that made her even the books
more famous.
Yeah, the book becomes sold out because of that. But so that was the first reason why I bought this book that time. And I just got to read it now because I have to teach about feminism to my students, part of the international relations class. And then I'm actually disappointed because this book is only critical on the first chapter, but after that it becomes a collection of jokes. Yeah, like she tried to be funny, she tried to look hip and trendy, so almost, what is it, the intention, the meaning somehow lost in all of these comedic expressions that she did. Yeah, so that's why. What is the book about? The book is about calling BS, calling BS, which is patriarchy and also sexism, of course. That's what the book is about. And then I'll have some really good quotes about BS that I think is noteworthy. Noteworthy. So I will share it later. So that's what the book is about. What are the key takeaways from the book? The key takeaways is, first, she thinks that feminism is supposed to be supported by all women. Okay, supposed to be supported by all women, but how come a lot of women do not want to join feminist movement? Or if they join it, why they hide it in the closet? They don't want people to know, oh, I'm a feminist, something like that. Okay, so she theorized that the reason is because it's fear. The motivation is fear. They're afraid of the consequences of calling themselves feminists, and the reason is because, one, it will limit their partner options. So once you declare yourself a feminist and you're single, then half of the guys' population will avoid you, they say. That's why they don't want to call themselves feminists. Yeah. Second is because you're going to get hurt. Yeah, in this male-dominated world, if you're trying to have this pro-equality political ideology, and you will get a lot of hurt, basically, just like what she experienced when Rush Limbaugh waged a national campaign against her. Yeah. So there are these two things that make women do not want to join the feminist movement. And it's hard to be a feminist, but although it's hard, it's much rewarding than the alternatives. And then she also mentioned about why people don't like feminists. Yeah, why people don't like feminists? Because feminism is the fine art of calling BS. And calling BS makes people uncomfortable. The first rule of understanding BS is to understand that people really love their BS. So many people love their BS more than they love their spouses. Or at least they will defend their BS more fiercely than when they defend their spouses. So if you show your skepticism to the established order, then people will take your skepticism personally and start seeing you as the enemy. So this is the reason why a lot of people hate feminism. Yeah, at least the one she do this. And then about sexism, sexism is sometimes hard to spot. And this is related to what Diaz spoke later, right? Sexism is hard to spot because the prevalent and sheer commonness of it. So when we watch movie, when we listen to music, when we see the pop culture, sometimes we think, oh, wait, that actually very sexist. This game is very sexist, like Mario game, Mario Kart, for example, right? The princess needs to be saved and she doesn't even have any action, just waiting in the castle, for example. Right? And then the Zelda, Legend of Zelda, you know the game, the Legend of Zelda. Zelda is the princess that should be rescued. So the name of the game is actually not a playable character. So the playable character here are all of the knights that have to go through all of these adventures to save her. Sometimes we think of this as something, oh, probably that's not sexism because that is so common for women to be saved, something like that, right? So we think it's normal. But if we use our feminist spectacles, we will be able to spot sexism more accurately. So that is it. And then a lot of personal lesson that I get from it is that loving men doesn't mean living in their shadow. So this is the story of Dolly Parton. How many of you know who Dolly Parton is? Can you raise your hand? Mike?
The singer, right?
The singer, the country music singer, Dolly Parton. So she's the one who said, can unite Democrats and Republicans. So if there's a Dolly Parton concert, Democrats and Republicans sing together in that concert. So it's one of a kind. So Dolly Parton was actually assistant singer to a more famous singer at that time. There was a guy called, who was this guy? Porter Wagoner or something, right? And then she decided to do solo career. And then, you know, this song, and I will always love you. Whitney Houston, it was actually her song. That song she wrote to say goodbye to his longtime singing partner, Porter Wagoner. But then I love you so much, but I cannot just be your shadow, basically. And then she decided to go solo and she became more successful than the guy. Yeah. So that's probably the one thing that I can apply in my real life. And people who sing song like Stand By Your Man is actually quite sexist. Stand by your man means whatever your man is doing, like have an affair or whatever, you have to stand by your man. And this was a song that was used to mock Hillary Clinton, because Hillary Clinton, after the Bill Clinton Monica Lewinsky issue, she stood by her man, right? And then this song, the singer of this song married 5 times, divorced 5 times. So it doesn't mean that you promote something that you are actually doing it yourself. So that's another inconsistent that I get. People who tell you what to do doesn't always do it themselves. And then another one is there's sometimes a law which is funny. A law, certain law, if we don't think about it thoroughly, it can actually make the situation worse. For example, there's a law called the Lubbock Principle. That time, this country is very Catholic based, or I'm not sure if it's Catholic based or not. So they forbid selling alcohol in the city. They don't want people to get drunk, basically. So from now on, there's no selling of alcohol in the city of Lubbock. They think that probably that will make people stop drinking, right? But you know the reaction of this law? New bars started to pop up in the circle of the city, surrounding the city. And after that, so many accidents happened, you know, because previously people just went to their neighborhood bar to drink and then go home. Now they had to drive all the way outside the city to drink, get drunk, and then go back home. On the way back home, a lot of accidents. So a lot of this law actually backfired in the end. Yeah? And there's another law which is called the silver ring thing. This is giving a silver ring to girls who pledge virginity until they get married, for example. And believe it or not, this is sponsored by the government. So the government purchased silver rings to girls. If they want to pledge will keep their virginity until marriage, they will be given this silver ring. What's sexist is that there's no pledge for guys to do the same, only for girls. So no pledge for guys to stay virgin until married. So that was also quite sexist, right? But it's also in reality. So other than that, it's very offensive. As the book progressed, she became more and more liberal, I would say. If you decide to be a feminist, that means you have to take all of the other ideas as well, which I disagree with. For example, if you're a feminist, that means you have to be okay with the porn industry. For example, if you're a feminist, you have to you have to pro-choice or legalize abortion. If you're a feminist, you have to be a vegetarian, something like that. So this becomes slippery slope in the end, which I don't appreciate. Yeah. So that is too bad. Towards the end of the book, it became counterproductive. And then, is there anything I disagree? That was what I disagree with, that you can be your own independent mind. You don't have to, if you decide to be a feminist, then you have to embrace all other ideologies related to feminism as well. You can be your own independent thinker, in my opinion. Yeah. So I think that is what I can share from this book. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. So now it's time for the Q&A session. Maybe I can ask the first question. Maybe it is not about the book. Maybe the first quick question about the book. When was the book published?
The book published in 2013.
Oh yeah, it's quite new, yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay,
but
so
you know why?
Because I thought that this is like the second wave of feminism, or where the woman want to have the right to have a job or have a vote.
No. Right to have a job is still in the
first year.
Already, yeah. First wave of feminism is actually World War I, suffrage, obviously, and then a lot of men went to war, right? So now women left in the factories making bullets and guns. So they realized that, oh, actually we can have jobs. That's the first wave of feminism.
So my question is that I feel that those people who label themselves as feminists sometimes hate men.
Oh yeah, the book said that. So the reason why feminism is it looks bad because they said men hating baby killers. A feminist is men hating baby killers. So that's why that's the stigma, of course. Well, I call myself feminist, but I have a husband, right? That's why it doesn't have to be like that. So this is partly the mistake done by this type of writer, because she obviously said, if you are a feminist, that means you have to do this, you have to believe in that, in this and this and this. Like you're not allowed to be religious. Almost like you are suggested to be an atheist if you are a feminist, right? So she demands fellow feminists to subscribe to all of her ideas. I think that's why the stigma is they're men hating baby killers, because they demand us to believe in everything, which I disagree with.
So usually I always avoid people who are obsessed with their identity of feminist. Actually, I believe with gender equality, but if they are too obsessed with feminism, usually it's kind of red flag, in my opinion.
I think obsession is not the right word here, Fajar. I think what you meant is frustrated. Women are frustrated. And like Donald said, the frustrated are easily manipulated. So sadly, right? So don't take it as they're obsessed with it. They're just frustrated. Like, how come I cannot get the same salary as my male employees? We exactly do the same job. Both of us are janitors, but the guys get more than the girls, for example, like that, right? So it makes them frustrated. And another thing is a lot of women are confined in their domestic job. Okay, so they're expected to feed their husband, raise their children, and there's still expectation for women to leave their jobs a second they get married, just like George W.H. Bush's wife. She was a very famous lawyer, but after she got married to Bush Jr., she quit her job, for example, right? All right. So if she is not allowed or she is expected to dedicate her life to raise family, then she doesn't have any chance to contribute to the society outside from the family. So that is another thing which is frustrating, I would say.
Okay, thank you very much. Any other question from other participants? Maybe Diaz or Donald or
Pipit,
Mike?
is it a story of the author, or is it more like a journal that she wrote?
So she was a blogger. So a lot of this are excerpts from her blogs. So a lot of them are personal story, but also the phenomena she saw all around her. I check out her blogger is no longer active. I don't know why. But anyway.
Okay, actually, the topic about feminism is quite interesting. There are actually quite some question that I would like to ask, but it will be quite lengthy. Maybe it will be just next time, lah. Yeah.
I think
Okay,
probably I will just say something to Diaz since she's not married yet. Yeah, right, Diaz. Diaz, this book also said this. When we choose a partner, we have to be really careful. A lot of women, after choosing the wrong partner, their career suddenly decline. So if you choose the right partner after marriage, your career is supposed to take off. So that's the idea.
Okay.
What a great lesson to start with, yeah, in 2022.
But it's kind of true, to be honest.
Thank you, Pipit.
Okay, so I suppose there are no other questions, right? Okay, because we have just discussed about feminism, maybe we can just move on to Diaz because her book is also related to Pipit's book. So the time is yours, Diaz. Everyday Sexism.
Yeah, this is the book, Everyday Sexism. The author is Laura Bates, and then Laura Bates is I think she's a blogger. She's a blogger as well, but she started this project of Everyday Sexism in Twitter. Actually, the first platform that she used, and then basically this is a collection of stories from women all over the world, where she got comments, where they got harassed by, and then I feel a bit nauseous, and I get a very bad what do you call this one, not psychometric, yeah, what is that, psychosomatic, I don't know. So basically I feel stomachache, headache at the same time, because I'm reading this book. That's why I skip it a bit too much for this one, because the chapter of this book is divided by the types of sexism that women usually got in everyday life. So for example, the some of the chapters is the sexism that I received in the working situation. So the thing that I was shocked, and then I felt, well, I'm not alone anyway, because during interview, it's 1 out of 2 women who got comments about how they appear, how they look, and then also they got questions about their sexual orientation and also their marriage status. It's like almost a daily questions that women got, especially when the job interview. And then it's not happening only in one location, but it's almost all over the world. And then she divides as well a special chapter what I mean by special chapter is a double discrimination. So it's most of the stories are coming from England and from USA, where the women minorities, they get even more bad comments about how they look. So I had this so there was one Indian woman, and then when she applied for the job, one of the comments from the job interviewer said, "Wow, you're so pretty for an Indian," something like that. And then it's a very at that time she could not say anything, because first she wasn't expecting that, because she thought that, well, I studied this hard, I got my cum laude, I got my degree, and then I managed to do this research, I managed to do this, but then in the end they will just only comment about how pretty or how good am I, and then they even mentioning about my race, something like that. And then most of the location, so it's like almost majority, it happened in the working in the working space, whether it be it's office, or if you work in the airport, then it's in the airport. And then it somehow reflects me back to when I was working as a cabin crew, because I got this comment. Oh my goodness, it turns out that I got so many sexism comments throughout my career, throughout my experience. And then I wish I knew this even earlier, because then at least we can do something, or make a, what do you call, like make a movement to stop this or to end this. And then anyhow, on the most of the books, it's basically the collection of stories, and only on the last chapter that Laura Bates, as an author, she demands everyone to not be afraid when things happen like that, just to voice out. And then I think she also like promoting her website. It's a everyday sexism project, just to make women especially to be aware of about these comments, and then what do they have to do. So it's basically like that. It's I think that will be answering question number 1. So question number 2, key takeaway that you get from the book, is only the last part, because only the last part that she mentioned, that we have to be brave when we experiencing that one. Not to be brave like when you receive comments like "hi cewek," something like that, then I just punch him in the face. Not like that, but at least you what do you call that, you brace yourself and challenge the one who give you comments. So that's my key takeaway from the book. And then number 3, how this book can be applied in real life. Oh no, especially no to 3000. I don't want this one even happen again in my real life, and I don't want this happen again in everyone's life, because actually guys also they have this kind of comments as well, but maybe not as harsh as women, or maybe even more difficult, but maybe they don't realize. So it should be your own awareness when you experiencing that kind of situation. And then number 4, are there anything in the book that I disagree with? I cannot disagree because this is a collection of stories and it happened already. But what I can say that sexism is happening to both women and men. And then the best thing that we can do, especially if you're not the one who can punch someone in the face, or you can just give them some Bruce Lee kicks, at least challenge them. So for example, if Fajar, let's say there's when you just walking around nearby your neighborhood and then someone calling, hi Fajar, hi Chowo, what are you going to do?
Well, it depends. If it's girl, maybe it's okay. But if it's another guy, oh my God, what happens?
See, that will be the majority of the answers by guy, because they think that from woman, it's okay. Maybe they're just teasing me. But actually, if they already mentioning something about your appearance, mentioning something about you, basically, then you need to challenge them actually. So you cannot just ignore. You need to do something. You know what I mean. So
Unless Fajar enjoys it.
yeah.
Now, I
Holy
mean,
cow.
yes, a lot of girls like being catcalled, which I'm
Yeah.
about, but that's the
I
reality. So when we get halo cewek, we feel like annoyed, right?
yeah.
Like we don't, I
What
don't
the heck? Yeah, something.
right? But there are girls who like, oh, they think I'm pretty. That's why they call it halo cewek or something. So that's goes.
Yeah, that's a I think that's a different point of view, and then not many people realize that this is actually already part of harassment. So Fajar, if you experiencing that, the best thing that you can do if you don't want to start a chaos or start a riot, then you just have to pause, look back in the eye, and then wait. So usually people will not expect that kind of reaction. So it's like saying that what did you just say, or what do you mean by teasing me like that, but not in a not in a aggressive way. So, and then it's also happened to the thing that pretty scares me the most is because even the smallest thing that I neglected over all these years, it's happening to all genders and to all ages.
Yeah.
So it doesn't mean that Donald will not get any catcalls. He might get one from maybe walking around or meeting in unfamiliar places. Then when someone say pa, it's also it's also part of a catcall, and then you need to do something. So for me it's an eye opening, but I'm a bit disappointed because this is just a bunch of stories which we can read it as well in Twitter or in her blog. But anyhow, I think she made this one she made this as a book because it's a pre-book for her next book, which I just knew that it came out last year. The title is Men Who Hate Women. So I think it's a bit more complex because she will gather more information about what sexism happened to men as well. So I think that's it. What I can share with you guys in the book, and also I'm presenting this to my fellow, what do you call, ibu-ibu PKK. What is that? I don't know what's the one in English, but in my neighborhood, there is a program of safe house concept. So it's a protection for women who got KDRT, and then because our public places where government of Jakarta can gather around everyone who are not safe in their home. There is a house of temporary house for women. It's in East Jakarta, but East Jakarta, me in the south to East Jakarta is very far. It's like 1.5 hours itself by driving. And then imagine if they don't have any transportation, or if they cannot afford anything to go there. So this safe house concept is running away for temporary to someone else's house near your neighborhood. So let's say if it's a husband and wife, they got the wife got KDRT, and then the wife don't know where to run. The wife can run to someone in the nearest place, but it must be a house that that someone is living inside. So it's not an empty house, and also it's within the maximum is like 5 kilometers. So then means like for in any other, in certain kind of circumstances, if she can walk, then she can walk. Then if the husband decided to catch the wife, when the husband enter the house, the husband cannot what is jemput pulang paksa ya in English? It's by force making her to come home, because it's part of a private property, and he cannot enter without any permission. And if he insists, then he can get a law. There will be pidana law. So because it's trespassing a private property. So it's been under what do you call? It's been under progress to make this like an awareness for every ibu-ibu PKK. But nowadays it's the main target public is, we start from the South Jakarta first, and then slowly and hopefully it will be start all over Jakarta, and hopefully to other province. So at least, it's because safety is number one, besides meal, primary human basic needs, right?
Needs,
Yeah. So safety is also part of it. And then Pipit also mentioned about book about feminists, and then this is everyday sexism. Yeah, it's a lot inside actually.
I applaud you
for
for
the
that.
program.
Yes.
Sorry.
I applaud you for that program.
So yeah, it's still under progress. And then maybe like in the next 2 weeks, there will be a seminar for the bapak-bapak as well, because guys should know this one as well. Guys should know this. Even if the bapak-bapak cannot interfere of what's happening in the in
Safe
husband and
house.
wife life,
Yeah.
but if he noticed something's wrong, if he noticed like something is not right, then it's time. Then it's okay to report if it's already what do you call that one? If it's already making you
Problem.
feel like
Yeah, if it's
so like
aggression.
you notice that this is a problem and you need to do something, then you should make a movement. You should do
Yes,
Before it's
don't
too
you
late.
think before it's too late? Too gone too long. Too gone.
Sorry?
Okay,
Yeah.
maybe
Too
we
gone too
can
long.
have one question.
Oh, sorry. Okay, that's it. Thank you.
No, it
That's
doesn't have
from
to
me.
be one question, because we started at 12:30.
Yeah, we've still got plenty of time. Yeah.
Oh, 20. Okay, so maybe 1 or 2 or 3 if we have more
I
time.
think, yeah, but basically my what I can explain is, I think I've explained everything that I can. So thank you.
I think you touched on one area that I find interesting, Diaz, and that is, this is all ethnic groups and all ages. I mean, it's really everybody. Yeah, I mean, there is no, there's no category really that escapes this. Yeah, people are, I mean, it's discrimination. Yeah, I mean, just pure and simple discrimination. I think not to dress it up as sexism is unfortunate. I mean, yeah, obviously it's a specific terminology, a specific group, and it does need addressing. But there are many other areas. Yeah, I think one of the things that I find interesting is the salary differential. Yeah, for women. Yeah, in the 70s and 80s, women who were the main part-time workers in the West. And women used to get 60% of what a man would get for doing the same job. And the argument was, oh, it's only part-time, she doesn't need the money. Yeah, she's only doing this for cigarette money, for kids' toy money, for Christmas gifts, for holiday. The guy is responsible for earning the living to provide the rent and the food, accommodation, heating, whatever. But then in the 90s, there was a big change in where people worked. And a lot of men are now working part-time. We're working part-time in the 1990s. And that was a change, obviously. But what didn't change was they didn't bring with them male salary levels. So they're now doing part-time jobs at the same rate the women were doing them at. So men in the 90s were having to do 3 jobs, 20 hours each, to make the same amount of money as they used to get for 40-hour work week. And that's the big change. And then, I mean, in the 20s, I mean, we're now, I don't know where we are at the moment, but I mean, it was gig economy. I mean, you didn't even have part-time work. You got an assignment for a weekend, or you helped to a wedding as an EO or whatever. So you had to keep peddling all of the time. And then tie that in with the ageism thing. In Europe, Spain has 50% unemployment in youth under 25. UK, it's like 12% instead of 3, 4, 5%. So young people are really penalized in getting any job. Yeah, and that is where we are at the moment. And it's getting more and more difficult to make ends meet. And that's why I think you've got so much stress, certainly in America. Yeah, you have so much stress there because of the minimum wage or people getting less than minimum wage. And how can you cope? Yeah, because America is a very I must have gimme environment. Yeah, everybody needs something, gizmos, and they don't earn enough to be able to do that. So there are lots of stresses in our society at the moment. And to me, that is dangerous. Yeah, because this would blow up. It just, pressure cooker being heated up, eventually there will be an eruption. I mean, it's like a volcano. Yeah, it goes for so long, and every 100 years you have a major, lava flow. And I think we're in the situation, I feel, in the world where these things are about to happen. Yeah, they could happen any day, literally. But the pressure is there. I mean, you've got all of the stuff that's going on in the US. I guess, America is going to be in civil war in the next 5 years. I mean, seriously, yeah? I mean, it's scary. I mean, unbelievable. Yeah, but so was Donald Trump. And so was, January 6th was totally unbelievable. But these are things, these are pressures there. You cannot just have there's no quick fix. Yeah, I mean, whatever university gurus are working on, social strata, social engineering, whatever, there is no easy way out. Yeah, I mean, this is a people issue. And at the moment, there is so much tension there between certainly the left wing and the right wing in the US. It's, again, unsolvable. I mean, this is a problem waiting to explode. And it's happening all over. I mean, you've got the yellow shirts in France. You've got Germany is getting fascism back. You've got the alt-right in Germany. So, all of these things that would have been unimaginable just 10 years ago in Germany, to get Nazism back in Germany, never happened. It could never happen. It's happening. Yeah, I mean, Nazis are now 10 to 15% of the vote in Germany. And this was Hitler, 1920s, 1930s. Small start, thin end of a wedge, and he used what was happening in the country and he got into power. And that's what Trump is doing. I mean, it's exact copy. So, it's not impossible because it happened in Germany. It could happen in the US. It couldn't happen in any country. And even the UK, I mean, UK is all screwed up with Brexit and whatever. Yeah, I mean, Britain in a way has a little bit more stability because they have a little bit more technology. But then you get to places like Greece, where we were talking with Yanis. They have nothing. Yeah, I mean, they really do have nothing. They're a beach resort, tourism resort, which is fine as long as tourists come. But if the tourists stop coming, you have no income, and that affects the whole economy. So yeah, I mean, there's no easy fix, and that's why I think it's a dangerous situation we're in. And this is not just sexism. Yeah, I mean, I agree. I'm very supportive. Yeah, of the women's movements. I mean, suffragettes getting the vote in 1900 or whatever by railing themselves, chaining themselves to the railings outside the Prime Minister's house in Downing Street. Yeah, I mean, it should happen. But so should people that are slaves be allowed to vote. So should people who are young people be allowed to vote. Yeah, and people are entitled, I think, to employment.
You don't have land.
Yeah, you need to be able to feed yourself. I mean, I've just been editing a book by the chief of police in Bangka Belitung, and he's basically, saying, that they need to develop tourism there. And because their industry there was predominantly tin mining, which will peter out. I mean, there will be a reduction in tin production. And there, he uses one example of illegal tin miners. Yeah, I mean, they have no money, no reserves, and they need to feed their family. So what do? They go into basically illegal tin mines have closed down. They are unsafe, but there is still tin there. So, people can go there, make some money. And he was using the analogy, you can't really stop them doing that. They need to eat. They have a right to eat. And he said it's no different to somebody living in a forest area where they don't own the forest, but if they need food, they go into the forest and they catch something to eat, or they cut down some trees and sell the wood to eat. And that, is, again, go back a million years, 500,000 years, where people were nomadic, they were hunter-gatherers. They didn't worry about whose land they were on. Everybody owned the land. You just passed through, you ate what you needed, you caught what animals you needed to eat. You didn't do it for extreme reasons and deplete the supply. But we're into a different world now. It's so much more complicated. Yeah, but at the end of the day, I mean, this is where really human rights come in. I think everybody has a right to feed. They have a right to education. They have a right to a house. Yeah, I mean, everybody is allowed to live, should be allowed to live, without having to become a criminal. And we're pushing people in that direction. Yeah, it is becoming much more difficult to live legally in many societies. So people have no option. They become illegal. And in the past, hundreds of years ago, that was also an option, but it was an easy way out. Yeah, you just did, theft. You became a criminal. You could just steal money. Yeah. But now people are having to do it to survive. Yeah, and that's a different discussion. So, I think there are many, many things going on in the world at the moment that we need to really address. Sexism is one of them, but it is only one. Yeah, I mean, I don't think we can just focus on that and ignore the others, because let's say ageism, is another. I mean, again, you know, you hear all these jokes about if you're over 30, you can't get a job anymore. You go for interview and you're 31 next. Yeah, and that is not a fiction. Yeah, a lot of companies are taking that easy option.
Yeah.
Yeah, so, you know, everybody is born, you know, with management skills, you know, of 40 years, but you only want to pay them for a 20-year-old salary. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, you know, everybody is trying to not make money is the wrong wording, but everybody's trying to survive. Every company has got to be so much more cost conscious than previously.
There is a meme
So-
about that, Mike. I just remember that you're expecting someone with the age of 20
Yeah.
years old, but having 10 years experience.
Absolutely.
So the meme is, you know, Kidzania. Kidzania.
Does that count? Does Kidzania
Oh my
experience
goodness.
count?
If I can share it, and then kids like 7, 8 years old,
Yeah.
you know, like the first grade of elementary school, you know,
Yeah.
wearing doctor suit,
Yeah.
firefighter, nurse.
Yeah, I think in
And
my
then
opinion,
this is what they expect in the next 10 years. So someone
Yeah.
someone 20 years old
but
having
you know what's
10 years of
annoying?
experience.
You know what's annoying when they ask a lot of this experience, but they only give you starting salary.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It
Yeah.
doesn't, like, what's the point of having 10 years of experience when we work for that company? They still give us
Starting salary.
Beginner salary. Yeah.
what
Yeah.
the okay. And then yes, actually related to your book, I usually coach my friends who apply for scholarships, right? In scholarship they have interview.
Mm.
Yeah.
You would go to Santa Clara University or wherever, Santa Clara, right? And then of course we have a list of questions that is possibly being asked in
Mm.
the interview. And then if they answer this, if the question is this, answer like that. If the question is, answer like that. We tried so many different scenarios. And my friend, a woman, was going to this interview, and you know what they asked her? What will happen to your children if you study at Santa Clara University in America? Yeah, after preparing all
But that's,
the question was actually, how about your children
yeah. Yeah.
if to United States to study? And then she really upset in her heart, because if her husband is doing that interview, that kind of question will never come up.
Yeah. Yeah.
Mm.
Well, that's a very 1950s interview technique. Yeah, where women had only really, I mean, women in the workforce is really, as you said earlier, from the Second World War. Yeah, they were used to make battleships and guns and bullets and whatever. And when the war finished, they thought, hey, we can do this. Yeah, we can do it as good as, if not better, than a man. So let's keep going. And that did happen. Yeah, I mean, and already in the 50s, people needed to be two income families. Yeah, husband and wife needed to work to have a decent standard of living.
Mm.
And that was in the 1950s. Where it went off the rails really in the 1960s is nothing happened. Yeah, and the level of salary now is the buying power is the same as it was in like 1960. 50 years later. So there's been no progress. Yeah, the labor movement has really not had an impact on workers' remuneration. And that's scandalous, yeah? And that's where we are. And that's why we have so many problems worldwide, yeah? Because people are not getting the reward that they deserve for the effort they're putting in. Yeah, I mean, you look at a
Now
25...
You sound like Karl Marx right now.
I am, yeah, I just got rid of the beard this morning. But
okay, I can recognize it. That's what you said in the book.
But I mean, I bought my house, my first house, in 1975. I stretched myself. I'd only been out of university 2 years, so I was really stretching. But I had a parachute of my mother. My mother basically said, "Okay, you go buy the house. I I will guarantee the payments. I didn't need it, but she was there. Otherwise, I could never have taken the risk. So I bought a house when I was 26. Same house as my parents. It was, there was one house in between us. And nowadays, people of 26, there's no way they can buy a house. No way. I mean, in the UK, you're probably 35, 40 before you have enough money saved to pay the 10% deposit on a house to get a mortgage, or you wait until your parents die and you inherit. And that's creating a real problem, in the West. And I guess, I think the same is probably happening here. Yeah, I don't think young people are able to go and get a mortgage and buy an apartment. Yeah, I mean, they will probably be given an apartment because it's the Indonesian way of doing things, but even that's changing. Yeah. Yeah, I think, parental support is, I'm going to say, is limited. I mean, you can only do it for one or
Now
two
it's
kids.
the opposite in Indonesia then.
Yeah, well, the
Young
kids are
families,
supporting
Indonesia, they can afford houses more.
young,
Yeah, young, because young families in Indonesia now, they have access to bank credit, right?
yeah,
They can use the house itself.
yeah, as collateral. Yeah,
It's
you
collateral,
buy it.
as a collateral,
Collateral,
right?
yeah.
And they don't mind paying
Yeah.
for 20 years, 15 years, as
Yeah.
they have a roof over their head and they don't have to pay monthly rent.
Yeah.
This monthly rent basically doesn't, you own the property anyway. So now that's why the housing perumahan is very booming.
Yeah.
Building. A lot of people can afford it too.
As long as they have a regular job.
Yeah.
Yes,
And
of course.
if that
But the
stops,
pandemic comes.
they're on the street.
Yeah. But now,
And that
even
is
with the
sad.
pandemic, you can get a 2-year, what is it?
Extension.
So you don't have to pay anything for 2 years. Anyway, Fajar, I think it's time for you.
Okay.
Your turn.
Okay, so let me.
You want to put down your phone? Buy things like this.
Because.
Fajar.
Oh, Harry.
Buy
Yeah.
itu loh for your phone, so it doesn't. You don't have to
Phone
hold it all the
holder.
time. Yeah. Phone holder.
Yes, my IndiHome is really bad. It keeps disconnected, so it's very annoying. So let me just put it here, yeah. You give me good idea. We'll just put the phone. What's the name? Okay. Hello.
Hello. You're still here.
So let me share you my screen. So today I would like to discuss you about a book that I find interesting. So I got this recommendation from one of the podcasts by the Jordan Peterson. So at the time, Jordan Peterson interviewed one of the escapee from the North Korean. Her name is Yeonmi Park, and she wrote a very interesting and insightful book with the title In Order to Live. So basically, she was born in North Korea, and let me just give you a description of her life during her experience there. So, it starts with I think she is only about 29 or 28, around that age. So in North Korea, there is a very insane indoctrination that is applied to all of its citizens. For example, the Kim Jong family is considered as God there. So, yeah, and there is a saying that the reason why sun rays from the east is because of Kim Jong-un or Kim Jong the family, and people believe that.
Wait, Il or Kim Il?
Kim Jong, the grandpa.
Kim Il Sung.
Kim Il Sung. Okay. And then during the elementary school, the children also taught about some basic subjects like maths, a little bit of science. But there is no religion there. The only religion there is worship. Maybe there is no religion there, and the only philosophy there is called junta. Junta basically self, what's it? Self menyukupi diri sendiri lah.
Not Juche.
Yeah, I think Juche. I forget the name.
Sorry, Fajar, is that childhood in China or in North Korea, the title?
North Korea.
North Korea, in order to live. And the indoctrination about the hate toward America and South Korea is deeply taught. Even the elementary kid was taught, if there are 5 American soldiers and I kill 2 American soldiers, how many American soldiers are left? Can you imagine that? The children are taught like that, and they are shown like the photo of how terrible the life outside of the North Korea. So they are totally brainwashed. So there are so many levels of brainwashing from the kids until the elderly, and especially it is really bad for those who are in the rural area. It's like they are totally brainwashed. Really sad. And there is something that is called sin of capitalism. So the King family or the North Korea use communism as their ideology, right? Basically, and they considered those who practice capitalism as sinner or as criminal. So, for example, the father of the Yeonmi, actually, he didn't have enough money to feed his family, so he have to resort to forbidden way, that is selling stuff. Can you imagine that in Indonesia and all over the world, selling or being entrepreneur is like a way of life, but in North Korea, it's like it's considered as a criminal, and you can get jailed. Even the father of the Yeonmi got jailed like twice, and when he get out of the prison, he was so skinny, he was so traumatized. It is really bad. What else? Oh yeah, the grandparent of the Yeonmi was the owner of like big land, the owner of big farm, and based on communism, it means you are part of the, what is it? The bourgeois. I forget. And yeah, and because you have so many lands, then you are sinner or you are crime. So your status, social status in North Korea, you become very, very low because you are part of the, you have a heritage of a criminal. So it's kind of crazy, kind of really, really crazy. There is so many extreme poverty. Even the Yeonmi at the time cannot find food. When he get strawberry the first time, she thought it was like a heaven. Even like ice cream is like something that is very rare. Egg especially egg is very, very precious. And yeah, in Indonesia there is Indomie is something that is very affordable, like 2,000, 3,000. But in North Korea, the noodle is considered as something precious, and usually they only eat that like once a month. Can you imagine? And they save it for the save it so that it can last very, very long. Oh my God, it's really bad. And there are so many, there are almost no electricity, very minimum, and also very expensive if there is any electricity. So bad, really bad. But the problem is they are indoctrinated and brainwashed so bad, they don't really do demonstration that much. If there is anyone who gives sign of rebellion, they will be thrown into jail. And everybody is so scared.
Jail? I think they will die.
Yeah, many of them.
Family too.
And then everything fall apart, like, oh yeah, there is one story that is so scary. So at the time, Yeonmi had like a very bad infection in her stomach. So the healthcare system there is so bad. There is hardly any medicines. Um, so the only treatment for diagnosing for treating the stomach ache is just cutting the apa itu usus buntu. Yeah, actually,
Appendix.
when appendix. Actually, when the Yeonmi stomach was open, actually there is nothing wrong with her appendix. It is just a regular infection in her stomach. But he just did it. The doctor just did it anyway. They just cut the appendix anyway. And oh my god, this is terrible. During the operation, because the lack of the supply of the painkiller, no, the anesthesia, uh, Yeonmi woke up during the operation, but the operation continues. Can you imagine that? Oh my god! Oh my god!
Maybe they restrain her.
Yeah, they have to restrain her to shut her mouth, so eventually and close her stomach back until the operation ends. But oh my god, it's so terrible. And at that point, the mother of the Yeonmi still kind of believe in the government of King Jong-un, at the time. But at the time, she found so many corpses on the fields of hospital, and she asked, why don't you bring the corpse to the graveyard? Oh, we have to wait until there are 7 corpses. Until there are 7 corpses, there are only 2. So we just left the corpse on the field, even it's rotting. So at the time, the mother of Yeonmi realized, oh my God, I cannot let my child grow in this country anymore. I cannot take it anymore. So they decided to escape, and thankfully there is a change. So actually there's so say they escaped to China, to the north part of the North Korea, and actually there are although the border is very restricted, there is some way by using bribes, because North Korean that goes to China can become a commodity, which means they are part of the human trafficking. So the woman, especially the woman of the North Korea, can consider as precious goods. Sorry to say that. Because
What's that called? The bride.
yeah. So basically, they offer the farmer in China to buy the woman from North Korea, so they can marry her or marry the woman.
Mail order brides.
Yeah, male by woman from North Korea. Yeah, because in China there was like shortage of women because of the one child policy. The woman there at the time during the one child policy, the women were aborted, so many of them. So there are lack of women there. Many men cannot get married, so they have to resort buying women from North Korea. Oh my god. So, but thankfully, the Yeonmi didn't become somebody's husband. She became the mistress of the human trafficker, something like that. But at least her life was kind of guaranteed. But eventually, she escaped to Mongolia. And during her journey to Mongolia, the Yeonmi with her mother and with the group have to pass through Gobi Desert. Gobi Desert is like one of the biggest desert in China, and at the time it is winter, and they traveled in the night, and there is a boy there, a baby boy, like that. They still hold together, and they have to keep moving, otherwise they will freeze to death, and they cannot. They will die in the desert, but thankfully they don't get lost, and they was discovered by the Mongolian soldiers. And afterward, the Mongolian soldiers on short story, they captured them. They asked South Korean people to interrogate them, and basically South Korean people saved them and bring them to the South Korea. And in this South Korea, they get like training, education, and how to live independently in South Korea, basically like that. And there is a one part that is very mind-boggling. On the first time, Yeonmi stepped on the South Korea, she remembered her indoctrination. She was taught that South Korea was like a very distressous place, very sad place, and it turned out, oh my God, actually it's totally wrong. It is so modern, so much better than the North Korea. And basically, she worked very hard in South Korea, and she got like she was accepted in university in a major of criminal laws. I forget what's name. And later she got another scholarship in Columbia University in major of human rights, I think so. So yeah. Actually, that's the very brief, short story of this book. This is like a really good book. I think it's like 5 to 5. Something that I learned from that, I learned that although her life was very hard, very harsh, especially compared to our life in Indonesia, she can survive. She can do well despite of her struggle, and it inspired me that even though we have many struggles, I believe that human being can pass through the difficulty times. Yeah, I grow that kind of belief after reading this book. What else? Oh yeah, something that I disagree or what I don't like. Maybe I not necessarily I don't like. It's more like something that makes me questionable. So basically, Yeonmi, when she was in South Korea, she only took like 1 year to GED, like apa itu, paket C. And I was thinking, is it even possible to only take 1 year to complete a GED? I feel like it's kind of impossible.
She got accepted in Columbia. There's a good chance she's very smart.
Yeah, she's very smart, and her English is really good. Absolutely. So
doesn't she have YouTube channel, Fajar?
Yes, she has a YouTube channel.
Okay, I think I saw her.
Yeah, and basically, she's like a content creator for exposing the crime in North Korea. Basically, that's what her content is. Okay, any question?
Okay, I have a question. Because of the cultural shock from North Korea to South Korea, how did she adapt? I mean, it was such a big difference, like North Korea with South Korea.
Actually, there was quite huge cultural shock. So, for example, in North Korea, it is forbidden to wear jeans because jeans like a symbol of America and a symbol of North Korea, the symbol of South Korea. So when she came to the South Korea, everybody was wearing jeans, and she was shocked. She was like shocked. Oh my god! And maybe the biggest shock is like similar to orang kampung datang ke kota lah ya. But it is like a very extreme situation. Maybe she was surprised with how toilet works, how computer works, how technology works. But thankfully, she is a very resilient and diligent woman, and she can adapt very quickly. She even get like one of among top student in her major because she worked very hard to adapt, to learn, to work hard to be successful in South Korea. Oh, really? Oh my God. Not even allowed pants.
For hands, except for, of course, soldiers and labor camp.
Oh my God, it's really bad. Oh my God. So yeah, any other question? Oh yeah, actually there is a
Question for you, Fajar.
Yeah.
Do you think in our lifetime we will ever see North Korea being liberated?
It's kind of hard because China is protecting the North Korea because maybe China need some kind of natural border between the China and South Korea. So China is doing their best to keep the North Korea. Yeah, and actually the Yeonmi even say so because the only reason North Korea still exists is because of China. If it's not protected by China,
Not because of their nuclear? Not because of their nuclear?
Maybe it's one of them, but it's like, you know, there are some countermeasure for that. But basically China has a huge protection for that. But I think that there is no need to liberate North Korea. Maybe we should just wait the North Korea to collapse itself to the point that it cannot sustain itself. But there's like a very long process, but a very painful process, to be honest. And other countries are already too busy dealing with their own problem, so they don't have time and they don't have time and effort to liberate the North Korea.
I think if someone decided to assassinate Kim Jong-un,
which is possible, or he could die, or he could die,
or he suddenly died of heart attack or whatever,
or
the
he is
replacement
already
is
dead.
a woman.
Yeah.
Or he is
The
already
only
dead.
sibling is his sister from Kim Jong-il's first wife.
Yeah.
So if the woman becomes the next president
Leader.
of North Korea, of Korea, the next, what they call it? Chairman?
Yeah, chairwoman.
Chairwoman.
Yeah.
Then maybe there will be change. We don't know.
Yeah, I agree with that. But
can you all
time
remember
being,
Germany 1989 when the Berlin Wall came down?
Can you explain? I don't remember.
Well, you had East Germany. They had a double wire border, 5 kilometers gap between. And during in Berlin, they physically built the Berlin Wall in 1961. And then in 1989, the wall basically got torn down by the people in East Germany. Yeah, so I personally think that the chances of North Korea collapsing, I mean, they are already collapsed, but for them to completely deflate is not impossible. Yeah. And yes, China is protecting them, but China is also in really difficult situation. Yeah, I mean, China has its own problems. So North Korea is not the solution to any of China's problems. And as long as it's not difficult, yeah, they will support North Korea. But if there's ever a choice, yeah, of either China getting benefit or North Korea, China will get the benefit. North Korea will be allowed to disintegrate. Yeah, but again, it's, you know, this is world politics. I mean, you don't know who's right, who's wrong. I mean, the Korean War is still ongoing. I mean, it was not ever finished in 1953. It was just a ceasefire. That's where we are at the moment. And when you look at, as we've just talked about, you know, the extremes from North Korea to South Korea, I mean, really unbelievable. Yeah, unbelievable. It's just so vast, so vast. But I think, you know, the people in North Korea obviously are very suppressed. They're very controlled. You have tremendous amount of secret police. So people cannot really rebel. Otherwise, as what Pipit said, you know, they will die. I mean, they will just disappear. And as you know, my origins were Germany. My mother's father was born in what was East Germany. The family farm is just over the border from West Germany to East Germany. And my mother worked for an East German computer company in London. And she used to go to East Germany on business trips frequently. And she would always ask for permission to go to the farm. And the farm was in this 5-kilometer strip where even East Germans couldn't get into that area. It was really, you know, demilitarized, it was completely restricted. And she always got the same excuse. No, sorry, there are no hotels in that area. And she said, I have no need for a hotel. I got a farmhouse there. Yeah, why do I need a hotel? And they said, no, you can't go. So she could never go. But then when the wall came down, we went over there about 9 months after the wall came down. We were talking with my mother's cousin who was in the collective. I mean, he was, the family owned the biggest farm in the area. And he became the maintenance director for the farm, you know, collective. And he was, you know, sharing, you know, the stories of how it was under East German control, under Stasi control, the secret police. And it was, I mean, East Germany had a big benefit in that they were very profitable farming community. They produced a lot of food. And the Russians needed that food. So the Russians really let East Germany get on with things. East Germans could go on holiday to the Red Sea, but people from Hungary, Bulgaria, Romania could not. Yeah, they were not rich enough as a country. They were not producing enough benefit. But anyway, so East Germany was pretty easy in a way for living. Yeah, I mean, there were problems. You know, you had tremendous amount of secret police activity. You could not say anything to anybody, including your own family, because they would just report you and you would be listed in the Stasi records. And, you know, sometime when it was appropriate, they would use it as blackmail or they would just remove you. But, you know, as a place to live, you know, they had a great medical facility. They had good food because they produced it as farming community, farming industry area. Yeah, so they had good time, really, comparatively, yeah, to people in Russia and people in the other states. And when I was talking to some of the East Germans, you know, that were there, you know, in their 20s, 30s, who'd been brought up there, and they'd now been under West German influence for a year, they were saying, no, we liked it better the way it was before, because every day was party day. Vodka was dirt cheap, free. Every day was party night. The boss couldn't care less because he was also drunk the next day. And that was the way of life there. So they had a good standard of living in a way. I mean, they had persecution, but they had a good, you know, they had enough to eat. They didn't starve. And if you wanted to go to the doctor under communism, you went to your doctor, said, he gave you a prescription or a entrance to the hospital. You took it to the hospital, you got a bed and the best treatment that they had. It wasn't fantastic, but it was very, you know, very life-saving. It was very adequate. And then when the West came in, you went to your doctor. The first question he asked you is a bit like what Diaz was saying was, you know, how many kids have you got? What are you going to do when your kids are at school and you're working for us? the first question the doctor asked was, which insurance company have you got? And if it was A, he could spend 5 minutes. If it was D, he could spend 15 minutes. And if you had a Z insurance company, you paid more premium, yeah, he would spend an hour with you. So it was all on a money basis, yeah. So it was very different, and it
Yeah, but
didn't
I
give you
think
better treatment.
in the socialism or things like that, it's good in a way, but in my opinion, it's if it's implemented like in Northern Europe,
Yeah.
instead of Eastern Germany, Cuba, North Korea.
Yeah, I mean, well, Cuba again was very bad, yeah, very bad under Castro. And I say East Germany
Anyway, we
was
still have 3
bad.
more minutes.
Yeah.
We only have 2
Okay,
more minutes.
Okay, any other
Question for
question?
Fajar. Yeah. I already asked question, loh, Fajar.
What the question?
I think
I forget.
Donald want to ask question. My
I
question:
already had
North
my,
Korea will be
yeah.
liberated.
yeah, I gave
Yeah, I
the
already
first
answered
question.
that, right? And the answer is that maybe.
Yeah. So what was Donald's question again?
How did she adapt to South Korea? Yeah.
Oh
Yeah.
yeah, how did she adapt?
I already answered that. So there is
Yeah.
culture shock, but she adapted very quickly, basically.
I think it's easier to adapt to South Korea than to adapt to North Korea.
Yeah, because the language is pretty much the same, and the culture is kind of there are some similarity of the culture in some way, because basically they are one part of the huge culture, right?
Yeah.
But they are just separated for like 50 years. So
Kim Jong-un
yeah.
used to live in Switzerland, right?
Yeah, he used to study there
Yeah.
when he was in high school, and he loved basketball when he was there.
Yeah, he wanted Michael Jordan, but Michael Jordan didn't want to come. Then Pippen, he didn't want to come. Finally, Dennis Rodman. Then he did come. You know what's
Yeah,
funny? Dennis Rodman didn't even know about North Korea when he came there.
Oh, really? Oh my God.
That was the reason why. Yes, sir.
Yeah, I just want to give a short comment. I remember that South Korea and North Korea were mentioned in Why Nations Fail, the book, because this is one of the few natural experiments that we can have about how these two systems separated, Fajar mentioned about 50 years, can be so different. So that was one of the strongest cases given in the book.
It's a big social experiment, yeah.
Oh yeah, actually, I just want to add something. First, I suggest you to listen to the podcast of the Yonmi in the Jordan Peterson podcast. It is really good. If you don't want to read the whole book, you can just listen to that podcast for about one hour. That is really good. And another thing that I was surprised was that Yonmi got scholarship in the Columbia University in human right major, right? But when Jordan Peterson asked her, what is your opinion about that? It turned out she was disappointed she was disappointed
In university?
Yes, in America, in Colombia, because there is a very strong you can say culture, or I don't know, what to say, maybe political correctness. The far left have breached the academy. So, for example, like
racism, you mean?
the reverse racism, the excessive feminism, something like that. I kind of forget. Yeah, there's some excessive feminism, right? But it is kind of taught there, and the political correctness, I guess, the political correctness. That is.
I mean, does she complain about it's too political correct or too unpolitical correct?
Too politically correct.
Really, America is politically correct at all.
Like for example, that maybe there is something issue like with the gender pronouns, like usually the professor start a question. Is there any one of you would like to tell whether you have different pronouns and so on and so forth. I don't know.
So she doesn't like that. Doesn't like
And
liberalism. Yeah, she's conservative. Is that what you mean?
yeah, it's kind of conservative, but what I got is that she doesn't like the liberal, but that is too far. So
Okay.
basically,
I think maybe still a residue from her childhood.
I don't know, but I think from
I
her
watched her YouTube video though.
Oh,
One thing that I remembered, I mean, I still remember until now is Kim Jong Un's wife. Kim Jong Un's wife was after they got married. Kim Jong Un killed all of her bandmates.
oh yeah, I have
Yeah.
heard that.
Because it is from Kim Jong Mi's YouTube channel, because they don't want Kim Jong Un's wife used to have a boyfriend, and those who knew who the boyfriend was were her bandmates. So she used to play in a band or choir or something like that, because they were so close, so they know each other's secret. And since become the first lady, all of her band members got killed. So the secret who the boyfriend was buried with them.
Oh my God. Can you imagine?
I
Yeah,
cannot.
by the way, before Fajar close, maybe we can take picture.
Oh yeah, I
yeah.
forgot. Yeah. Let's go. Let's
Can
go.
someone else take the
I
photo?
can. Might grab a book. Any book. Even the Bible or the Quran or whatever.
Wait. Let me get this
In front of
book.
you, so we can see it. Fajar as well. Is it 100 most influential people? What is that?
TPS.
Oh, school dictionary. Okay. 1, 2, 3. Let me check. Book Brewers. Okay, it's good. Okay, I will stop the recording.